朝、目が覚めるとなぜか泣いている。そういうことが時々ある。
見ていたはずの夢はいつも思い出せない。ただ、
何かが消えてしまったという感覚だけが目覚めてからも長く残る。
ずっと何かを、誰かを探している。
そういう気持ちに取りつかれたのは多分あの日から。
あの日、星が降った日、それはまるで
夢の景色のように、ただひたすらに美しい眺めだった。
ああ、このまま僕たちの声が
Kimi no Nawa takes place in Japan, in the small town Itomori, where Mitsuha lives, and Tokyo, where Taki lives. The movie also utilizes dialects, accents, and slang from their respective region, which adds authenticity and reinforces the character's geographical location even more. The movie shows shots of a more rural Japan, where life is much more simple and laid back, which contrasts sharply with Tokyo's bustling, high-tempo lifestyle. Mitsuha's traditional town stresses her out, and she wishes that she could live in a bigger city where there's cafes and bookstores, since being the daughter of the mayor and serving as a shrine priestess also burdens her. In the city, Taki works part-time jobs and is a lot more level-headed and calm. However, his chaotic lifestyle has him wish to live in a more peaceful and undisturbed town.
Explain the function of a particular sequence of events. Alright, so the order of events in Kimi no Nawa is extremely difficult to define because of how often there's a jump back and forth in time. So you start off with Taki and Mitsuha 3 years apart, and yet sort of being on the same page because they're constantly switching bodies. And then after the comet strikes, we're just in Taki's future timeline where he finds out about the disaster. And then after he finds out, we go back to Mitsuha's timeline in order to put the evacuation drill in, and then the timelines are unified after that all happens. So the whole point here is to slowly reveal what's actually going on, so the plot dictates the order that the events are presented in to preserve that. So we start off with no knowledge of the comet strike killing Mitsuha, and then it's revealed as they stop switching bodies, and after Taki finds out, that's when the timeline gets unified again. So I think that's why the sequence of events was put in that way. Even though it's non-chronological, it's presented in a way that makes it very clear that it's following the conflict. So explain the function of contrasts. All right, so there's lots of contrast between Mitsuha and Taki, and also Taki when he's in Mitsuha's body and Mitsuha when she's in Taki's body. So the contrast between the characters, in particular, the contrast between Mitsuha and Taki when he's in Mitsuha's body and vice versa, it serves the function of them getting to know each other as they live each other's lives and screw over each other's lives, and they try to figure out the best system to go on. And at the end, it helps the viewer get a sense of who these people are as well, because we get glimpses into both of their lives and as they're switching back and forth. So explain the function of a significant event. So I would say the most significant event comes when Taki shows the restaurant owner the picture he drew of the town that got destroyed. So this serves as the huge plot twist of the movie, and it's the inciting incident for the rest of the movie to expand off of. So I would say that being the inciting incident is that function. And explain the function of the conflict. This one's pretty clear, I think. So there's a comet, and it kills the main character. So like the whole point is to make the comet not kill the main character, and that's the function of the conflict. Identify and describe the narrator or speaker. Okay, so when you talk about the speakers of Kimi no Nawa, things are a little bit weird because you have two narrators, but their bodies and minds swap. So you have Taki and Mitsuha, right? But you also have Taki and Mitsuha's body, and Mitsuha and Taki's body. And at any given point, you have any given one of those four options, and you also have any combination of those options to be narrating the story at any point. So it's a little confusing, but those are who the narrators are. And explain the function of point of view in a narrative. All right, so the different points of view set up the plot because Taki has no clue initially that the comet has wiped out the town. And then we lose the entire narrator of Mitsuha in the process. And so what this does is sets up for the entire conflict to take place, right? The unreliability of Taki as a narrator, because of his lack of knowledge, it being from Taki's first-person point of view, it makes it so that the reveal of the conflict is very much more dramatic for the viewer, and it just wouldn't be the same if it were third-person omniscient and we had knowledge of the comet happening prior, so...
One of the major symbols throughout the entire story is the red braided string that Mitsuha ties in her hair. Mitsuha's grandmother explains that the braided string represents Musubi, which binds all things in the world together. As Taki finds out, the threads come together to make a shape. They twist and tangle, sometimes unraveling then connecting again. That's Musubi. That's time. This ties into how Taki and Mitsuha, who live very different lives 3 years apart, are connected by fate. At first, it only seems that the two are only able to swap bodies every so often, but soon Taki discovers that he is able to change a timeline where Mitsuha dies from a meteor strike. The ribbon also acts as a sort of bridge between the two. In Mitsuha's timeline, she visits Taki 3 years before he experiences the body switch and gives him a ribbon, as a way to try to get him to remember her. This plays an important part later on in the story as Taki eventually gives it back, disconnecting their lives, but also making it so that Mitsuha can go back to her timeline to save her town. Two people that never knew anything about each other had their fates tied together just like the string that connects them. The allusions to the Shinto religion also play a major factor in the plot of the movie. Mitsuha and her family are the caretakers of the shrine in her town, and their traditions are what drives the plot forwards. The idea of Musubi, as explained earlier, is part of this, but another important factor is the tradition where Mitsuha has to make sake that contains part of her soul, leading to Taki being able to go to her timeline and save the town by drinking it. The environment of Mitsuha's life as a shrine maiden also contrasts the modern life of Taki, who lives right in the middle of Tokyo. This dissects ideas of old versus new and how we're supposed to balance religion and traditions with modern society.
Mitsuha is characterized heavily by her isolated lifestyle and having very little experience in the outside world. This is evidenced by the fact that when she switches bodies with Taki, she consistently does not know how to act in her new environment. For example, telling a customer that he is lying when she was raised to be direct and rolling off the bed because she has always slept on the floor. At the start of the movie, Mitsuha clearly dislikes the fact that she has always lived in Idomori and wishes to live in Tokyo. Throughout the movie, she realizes how important her home is and eventually risks her life in an attempt to save it and the people who live there. Mitsuha is contrasted by her father. While she is seemingly uninterested in the town and her role in it, he, as a prominent member of the government, feels obliged to keep her straight. And in the end, they must each share each other's strength in order to save the town. Mitsuha must be serious and act in the interests of the town, while her father has to be creative and act illogically and against what he believes would be right. The movie uses shots that mirror Taki and Mitsuha from both points of view to display how both want what the other has and how they each try to improve the other's life. The film also uses a shot showing the two characters touching each other, despite neither actually being able to see each other. This shows the watcher what they have already seen unfold. Despite not having actually ever met each other, Taki and Mitsuha have made monumental impacts on each other's lives. Taki's decision to write I love you on Mitsuha's hand instead of his name is possibly one of the most impactful moments in the film. It clearly defies logic and makes it nearly impossible for them to find each other. This shows just how much Taki cared. He wanted Mitsuha to know his emotions for her in the moment they were living, even if it meant that Taki would quickly forget about her in the future. The most important thing to him was cherishing the relationship they had right then before he would potentially lose it forever. In Your Name, Taki and Mitsuha switching bodies conveys the concept that character is dependent on a person's experiences. Despite both characters yearning to live in the opposite environment, when they switch bodies, they continue to display the same character traits. The new bodies, relationships, and resources they gain have little impact on how they initially act. Even though both have wanted to have what they need to succeed in their new lives, they both pull from their past experiences to thrive in their new environment. Mitsuha uses her honesty and craftsmanship to form a bond with Miki, while Taki uses his athletic prowess to become popular in school. This demonstrates that no matter the situation, people tend to rely on their past experiences to succeed, even if they gain more accessible or easier ways to reach their goals.